Great. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is the oath of office of the newly elected board members. John and Colleen, please stand. Raise your right hands. I state your names. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge my duties as general board member of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Oh. That's not me. Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
I guess we need that.
Yes.
Next on my agenda is a motion to nominate, accept the nominations for the president of the Board of Education.
I move to nominate Colleen Locke as the board president. She has vast experience in education, knows our school very well, on the board. I think she'd be an excellent.
Okay. Any other nominations? Right, I should ask that. Colleen, do you, thank you for saying that. Colleen, do you accept this nomination?
For a moment.
Yeah, I know you like that. Okay, I'm opening up the,
I call the question. We vote on it? How do we?
yes,
do
we're
it?
gonna vote right now. Yep, so I opened it up, so it should show up on Board
Oh,
Docs.
perfect. I think you should. You gotta vote for yourself.
Yours pop up done? Oh, so we have 7 yes. Okay, I'm now going to give you the oath of office for the board.
And the gavel.
And the gavel. It's ready to write me. I, Colleen Locke, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties as president of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Okay. Of the meeting.
What about the?
You do the vice president.
Oh,
Yep, so you're gonna ask for nominations for the vice president. And this is
okay, so we are moving on to the nominations for board vice president. The recommended action, a motion to nominate as vice president of the board. Do I have a motion for any names? John?
I like to recommend Ronald Briggs S.
I'll second it.
Yeah, John and I. Second. Any other nominations or?
Do you accept your
I accept the motion, but I do.
Okay, I've opened up the voting. Seven yes. Not gonna-
Swear you in, my friend. I state your name.
I, Ronald J. Briggs, do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York,
And that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
my duties
my duties as Vice President of the Board of Education.
according to the best of my
According
ability.
to the best of my-
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Oh. Okay. Guess we close to the AC. We got some on the other side of it. Okay, that's a little easier, Don. Oh, okay.
So moving on in the agenda, first and foremost, I want to formally welcome Mr. Don Miller to the Fabulous Seven. We're so glad to have you on board. Thank you so much.
Excited. Ditto. Welcome, Don.
Yeah, we're quite the crew. Anyway, moving on to for the good of the cause, we have the public who may address the board. And do we have anybody that would like to address the board?
I do.
Okay. I'd like to read a statement first, please. The Board of Education encourages public participation on school-related matters at board meetings. To allow for public participation, a period not to exceed 30 minutes has been set aside at the beginning and the end of all board meetings. As a general rule, anyone who wants to speak should state their name and sign the sheet. Comments should be general in nature and should not involve concerns regarding a specific employee of the district, as the board has a separate protocol for these matters. This is a protection for school employees to assure their due process rights in a public forum. Individuals willing to raise their specific concern should follow the regulations outlined in policy 1400. A reminder that each participant is limited to 5 minutes. Thank you. Feel free to step forward and state your name, please.
I'm Frank Brunner. A lot of you guys know me. I teach here. This year I taught physics, calculus, algebra, chemistry, and our 2 English 12 sections. I think that was it. I'm here as a parent tonight, and I feel passionately about the smartphones. I want to make sure that we're not panicking and we're not running into something that we don't understand. So I feel like that 5 minutes was maybe mentioned since you saw the size of my report, but did everybody get my report?
Yes.
Yes, and that's a standing protocol, just so you know.
I'm joking. I mean, it's only 10,000 words, right? So do you all have it in front of you? I have copies here if you need it.
I read it, so I don't need it, but I make, thank you, though.
Good job. Anybody want a paper copy? Okay. Almost like I'm a teacher, right? I have pens and pencils if you'd like to. So the first thing here, I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it, which is obviously the idea. But the executive summary on the first page there, it talks about how other people see this research. I feel like when I've talked to people who've been in these discussions, and when I've talked to people around our school, they talk about Jonathan Hayden, they talk about Sarah Abramson, they talk about Zach Brown, and they talk about all these people, Gene Twenge, Greg Lukianoff, and I never hear about the actual child psychologists that are out there, in the great majority of them, doing all this other research, okay? So I just wanted to point some of that out to you. The vast majority of the field finds no evidence. That's a quote from Candace Odgers in Nature magazine, no evidence that there is a causal link between smartphone use and adolescent suicide rates or mental health. So, you know, I implore you to go and read the research. Don't just fall into the trap of looking at pop magazines and what's in the headlines and what's what's the current fad. This wouldn't be unusual, right, for education to fall into things that are fads. I list a bunch of them for you there. One thing that I didn't talk about in the paper is all the incentives, right? There are huge incentives for people to panic, right? The Surgeon General gets a lot of attention when the Surgeon General does this. Jonathan Haidt sold I don't know about 1 million, but he sold a ton of copies of his books. You guys ever heard of Sarah Abramson before? No. She gets famous. She's on the staff of UC Santa Barbara now, faculty of UC Santa Barbara now, I think. Okay, there are tons of incentives for teachers, for administrators. It would make it really easy if we just said, sure, we're banning all cell phones. That would be super easy, but it's not right? Like I say at the end of this, our vision statement is not easier, simpler, smoother. That's not our vision. Our vision is united, empowered, engaged. Taking away smartphones from the kids won't do our vision, won't accomplish it. Come and see. Please come to my classroom. Come to talk to my kids, 3 of them. I have 3 in the district. Talk to the kids in the high school. Talk to some of you. Colleen's not here. I had grandkids. Some of you have grandkids. Some of you have kids. Talk to your kids. See what they say. Okay? Talk to other teachers. None of these people are experts. Don't listen to any one source. Never listen to any one source. Look at the big picture. All right? I'll just leave you with page 9 right here. There is no way that you can conclude that smartphones are causing a crisis in adolescent mental health if you look at this picture. All right? In English-speaking countries only, and not all of them, not Canada, not Ireland, have we had increased severe mental health suicide rates in this graph since 2007. They're the only ones. Look at Japan, look at Russia, look at Estonia, look at Germany, look at all these other ones. They have smartphones too. They don't have this issue because smartphones aren't the issue. Okay, Sarah Abramson got a lot of attention, her one little study, because it was pseudoscientific. All right, but if you look at it, she relied on surveys, and she actually says herself, mental health diagnoses didn't change. They didn't change. The only thing that changed was initial consultations for girls. And if you haven't read my section, if you weren't here 3 years ago, if you haven't read about gender inequality in Lake Placid, boys are in trouble. Okay, not girls, boys. All right, our AP enrollment, 70%, 80% in the math and sciences was all girls this year. Our salutatorians have been like 25%, salutatorians and valedictorians have been like 25% male since 2010. Boys are getting the short end of the stick. And if you're not aware, suicide is a boy problem way more than it's a girl problem, right? Literally 4-to-1. Girls are not the top of the heap when it comes to suicide and severe mental illness. All the numbers are in here. Please look at them, and please come talk to people in school and me as a parent. Thank you.
Thank you. There are any other items? We will move on to the consent agenda. Recommended action approve the following items which are included in the consent agenda. 8B, appointment of district officers. 8C, appointment of the following other positions. 8D, bonding of personnel. 8E, designations. 8F, authorizations. 9A, minutes. 10B, BOCES cooperative purchasing participation. 10C, employee cell phone approval. 10D, resolution for the disposal of personal property. 10E, board member conference approval. 10F, board member conference approval. 10G, legal counsel agreement. 10H, special education. And 10J, day, long-term
It's just-
teaching staff
yeah.
designation. May I have a motion, please? Ryan? Second? John? Any discussion? Please vote.
Seven yes.
Moving on to reports. Dana, the budget performance report.
Perfect. Okay, I have provided you guys 4 different documents and really they're the same numbers, just kind of, showing them in different ways. I'll start with the general fund results, the third one, because that's probably the most straightforward. As of last week, when I put this together, this is what we can, this is where we are in terms of budgeted versus actual for revenue and expenses. As you can see, we're slightly less actual for revenue than what we budgeted, and vice versa, same with expenditures, slightly less than all that. You'll see that in the end, as of last week, we're seeing a positive of $195,753. So that is actual as of last week. As it is with any, we still have bills coming in. In fact, I just got a BOCES bill today, $41,000. It's a supplemental. We always get them, so that's not unusual. So that number will fluctuate. Most of our revenue is in the state together. Just about all the state revenue has and all that. So most of our revenue has been in. We even accounted for what's remaining from our BOCES state payments. We got notification of that again last week. What that is. So our revenue is pretty solid in our expenses. So that under $95,000 will go down because additional expenses. But it will go down $195,000. Last week we were $195,000 to the limit. Questions on that first one? Might be asking you, well, if we budgeted $746 for revenue, why didn't we get that? That's usually the case. So when you look at it, in reality, this is based off of actual and one number that is not in here, actually 2 numbers, 2 revenue sources that are not in here that were budgeted. We had initially budgeted a bit over $200,000 of federal money, a bulk of that coming from our American Rescue Plan, which we didn't have to use as revenue source. And $1 million was budgeted for appropriation fund balance, and we at all. So the $1 million that we budgeted, we're not tapping into it. Last year we tapped into, I want to say about $600,000 of fund balance this year. Right now we don't have to tap into that. That just helps us going down in terms of additional expenses. Why did we make up the difference? Well, if you notice, our expenditures were down $524,000 from our budgeted, so that's half of $1 million. And then you throw in the additional revenue that we received through our interest. We budgeted $35,000. We are a little over $600,000 revenue. Plus, we had some additional miscellaneous revenue that was a little over $100,000 that has come in. So, a combination of not spending what we budgeted and additional revenue sources. That's why we don't need to tap. We have to tap into that. Okay, the next one. Let's look at the schedule of change in fund equity. That basically shows you our restricted fund accounts that you'll see every year. We'll sort of audited. Our treasury report shows that. This is our restricted reserve accounts. We have unappointed reserve, reserve for liability claims, tax reserve, Kevlar retirements, and then you'll also see our repair reserve of over $1 billion. So in the end, of all of these restricted reserves, we actually only had to use $92,000 of that, and that's for the employee retirements. Every year we have employees retire, there's basically buyouts, there's sick time and all that. That amounted to about $92,000 from last year. We're always a calendar year off. So the people who retired a year ago, their buyouts comes in the following year. So we pull it from the current budget year, not the year that they actually retired. So next year we'll see whatever the buyout are. So in reality, look at that. We've only, we don't have to tap into about $92,000 of restricted reserves. As it stands of this week, we will put $195,000 into our unassigned fund balance. That's where at the bottom, you'll see an actual increase from 7.3 to 7.49. As I just said, that number is going to be lower because of self-custody movements. In fact, I'm trying to pay for the soccer dugouts in this current year budgets. We were given about $30,000. We got to come up with another $33,000 worth of matching grants. So my goal is that we can extend that out of last year's budget at this point and do some of this additional revenue to pay for that. That soccer covers soccer as well. So our athletic director is working at getting folks for that. So hopefully we can have those in place.
Tell me about encumbrances, the 70,178.
Unpaid bills.
Okay.
Yep. That's really, that's truly, so POs that are outstanding as soon as they come in.
Exactly.
And what we do is we typically will take that and we'll roll that over to this current year because now technically we're paying for everything out of this current year budget. So we either make accounts receivable or we will carry forward. So we pay them out of this year's budget, but it's last year's funds.
Okay.
That's what that is. Okay, the next one, the schedule of unassigned fund balance. This is basically just, again, breaking down where we started with our fund balance, our unassigned fund balance at the beginning of the year, July 1 or June 30th of last year versus July 1. That's usually how the auditors put it, as of July 30th of that year or July 1. They're basically the same. It shows you where we started with our fund balance. If we were to add $195,000 to it, this is where we would be. At the very bottom, it shows you what's our projected based on the current numbers. We're sitting on a fund balance of about 21.5%. That is quite over the 4% mandated by the states. If we were looking at what the mandate is, we're sitting at about a little under $900,000 is what we're required or could have. We're actually sitting on $4.6 million. So there is a plan in place in terms of that, in terms of repair reserve is $1 million that, we can fund through this. We are building our budgets, I mean, we had a great year for additional revenue or else we would have used $1 million out of the fund balance, going from budgeting $35,000 in interest and actually getting $600,000.
Right.
This current year, I think we budgeted $500,000. So we've already made that adjustment, in this current budget year to, anticipate having greater returns on that. Questions on this? And again, these are all unaudited. Our audit doesn't come until August, so you won't see the actual audited numbers until probably October. And I think the last one is the general fund, unassigned fund balance. It's really just another look at the numbers we've already shown, our currents, what our expenditures are, our encumbrances, saying we're going to have $195,000 left. My guess is that will be more like $110,000 to $120,000 once all of our other things come in. So all in all, it comes down to kind of just sum it all up. We brought in more revenue than we spent, and we stayed under our budgeted numbers. So that's good.
Yeah.
Great. Questions?
Great. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Moving on to our superintendent's report.
Great. So there are 2 attachments there. I'll just pivot to the second one, and I'll make some reference to some of the Regents data afterwards. But the first item there is just giving you an idea of just the scope of the amount of work that's taking place over the course of the summer. So these are some of our big dates, and just to illustrate some of the things that continue to be priorities for us. In July and the start of August, more of our staff will be trained in de-escalatory techniques for students who may have behavioral escalations. That's our TCIS training. That's been brought on board through the hard work of our principals and our director of pupil personnel services. And we also have trainers now in-house amongst our teaching staff who do that, Jen Tuggy and Amy Gotham. So that's all great work. We have our department leaders that will be convening along with the administration at the start of August. And one of the pillars really of our strategic plan, which will continue for the next 4 years, is that we set academic targets based on the information that we receive each year from our data coordinator. And then that fuels the goal setting process for our teachers. And so our department leaders are integral in identifying the best path and tools available to kind of allow our teachers on an individual basis to reflect, allow that to amend the manner in which they're teaching. So I'm excited because this former year that we just came out of, the goal initially was to just acquire the requisite data in math and ELA and science for baselines to be set so that we could set growth targets academically. And over the next couple of weeks, we will review and analyze that. Our strategic plan talks about how we'll set those targets, and then we'll implement a procedure to have feedback with regards to our student performance with our staff. That's all going to take place at the start of the year. So I think we're going to have a very aspirational, academically focused year, which is fantastic. So I'm really pleased to be in a position with the administrative team to preside over that direction. Other things that are in there, August 9th, that's, I should say parent letters, but usually by mid-August, we have parent and staff letters going home, which talk about just what we're planning for the start of the year, any themes, any changes in our student practice and policies. So that's all taking place. That moves us towards mid to late August. So we have 5 different camps planned for kids this year, which is excellent. The start of the summer enrichment camps began when we became a community school just a few years ago. And now we have a kindergarten camp, and there's a description of each of these if you follow down, just for your reference. But our K camp, this is the second year doing this. As a parent last year of a kindergarten student incoming, it was so great to have my son really just feel comfortable at the start of the school year before the kids were even here. So it's 4 days with the K team and the specials teachers and getting to know their classmates before the daunting but exciting start of school happens. So that is another continuation we're very excited about. The next camp this year is a new one for us. So this is a STEM camp for our 1st and 2nd graders. So Patricia Damp is undertaking this camp. So we're excited to see the kids get their hands on some machine building, some robotics at a pretty early age, so that'll be great. Our STEM camp, there is another one, I'll skip down, our robotics camp. This is the 2nd year that we've done this for our 6th through 8th grade students. We had 20 spots available last year. They were all filled up. This takes place at the hub on Main Street in cooperation with Northwood. And Olaf Carlson does a great job with our kids in robotics. We have a sports camp for students in grades 3 through 5. This is a partnership with the Town Youth Commission and with Keith and several of the youth associations. So lots of opportunity for sport in there. And then last but not least, this is another new summer offering, but something we started over the course of this last year, which is adaptive skating. And so this is a camp designed for students that with a particular diagnosis or maybe designated as special education students. They have the ability to learn how to skate. And our partnership with the Olympic Center in Orta has been invaluable to bring that to fruition. So those are just some of the enrichment things. Our bread and butter traditional summer offerings continue to be the extended school year for students, which is offered to students who have special education needs, is mandated by New York State law. And then we also have our summer school for both elementary and middle high school students. So lots of great stuff in that vein. So while all of that is happening, we also have a pretty vibrant growth culture taking place with regards to our staff seeking professional development on an individual basis. I included all these because just the amount of teachers who are doing different things is very encouraging, and it speaks to, again, some of the things that we've prioritized in our strategic plan. So several of our teachers are preparing to onboard the Amplify Science of Reading program. So we are all on board for a K-6 implementation, which is great. We've come a very long way and very quickly in that time. So our RTI teachers are preparing to modify their lessons for Tier 2 and Tier 3 students who may need additional supports to follow the practices within the science of reading. So that's very encouraging. We have some unique restructuring taking place at different grade levels. Some of it is just based on the fluidity of population numbers in different classes. So we've had a very small cohort come up over the last several years, 4th grade, which allowed for an opportunity for an elementary teacher to come and cover a 6th grade position last year, and now 5th grade, where we have Alexa Bowler, who was with the 5th grade team. She is shifting down to be a part of the kindergarten team. So it's allowing for an opportunity for different teachers to get a sense of what the grade level standards are like, different student groups, but also it's ensuring that not only we're being fiscally responsible in staffing classes at a reasonable number, but no one wants to have a class with such a small number of kids that there can't be true collaborative dialogue. So we're for those things. As I referenced, we have a new member of the kindergarten team, so they're working together on new curriculum. We have grade 2 team and grade 1 team reviewing the science of reading practices in anticipation. Just skipping down, we have our STREAM program. Members of the board, you may recall towards the end of the year, we had student presentations on our alternative education program. And so we have additional curriculum planning, which you may recall that the students and teachers specifically asked that continue, and we certainly have honored that. And we have a new member of the team. Tammy Morgan is picking up different sections in science this year, and so representing a lot of the science and hands-on project-based learning will be Mr. Baker. So Sam Baker is an infectious and vivacious member of the staff who will be a favorite amongst the kids, as always. So we're excited for that. We have several of our tech integration specialists working on different artificial intelligence tools that staff will be able to utilize at the start of the year for lesson planning, for goal setting, immediate feedback to students on the work. And then once the staff gains comfort with that, they will assist in the rollout of artificial intelligence platforms available for students in specific use cases. So we're really pushing forward. We're on an interesting trajectory as a school district in some way. There's a recognition certainly on the part of the last board, prior to this new iteration of the board, that there are concerns related to anxiety and smartphone use and things of that nature. And so, from afar, people could look and say, well, is the district being a bit Luddite-ish and maybe not looking towards the way of technology, but actually, the work that we're doing with artificial intelligence and trying to bring on the best technology for our kids, I think it's just really a matter of priorities and balance. So it's an interesting dichotomy that we're in, but it's good that we're trying to forge a path that bridges the gap between technology that can be useful and technology that can be damaging. So it's advantageous. But you can just see as you continue to go through these, I mean, our staff are dialed in. So teachers very often will take the summer to, just kind of prepare just after a long year, just take some time for respite. it's encouraging for me to see just the amount of folks who are hungry to continue growing their skill sets. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm also pleased that our professional development line, which we've increased over the last couple of years, allows for this type of exploration and invigoration. So it's encouraging. Yeah, great question. Amplify is basically the name of the program that is our English language arts program for K through 6. And so we were basically a school that followed the practices of Lucy Hawkins for a number of years. And over time, the Teachers College of Columbia was for the practices. And those became progressively more disavowed over the last several years. And so Amplify is a science of reading-based approach to ELA. Just some other initiatives that I know are top of mind. We've brought them up before, but driver education. Mr. Gotham is presently enrolled in classes to have the requisite certifications to be able to start teaching driver ed to our students again. So that'll take place in the subsequent year. So Dana and I and the team have already had discussions about what kind of cool vehicle we want the kids to drive in. And it's going to be a thing. Yeah, so
That's what I'm saying.
Really, we should go with an Elk no beat.
Did you say armored?
Gonna walk, we can bang into stuff.
Trying to get a zero emission bus.
There you go, yeah,
That's
no, we're not.
Get in their CDLs early.
so that's all progressing in a great direction. Just
That's great news.
Yeah,
That's good, because that's a program that needed to be here.
absolutely.
I'm glad it's coming back.
We have the food pantry thrift shop project. So the building is on course to be assembled in late August. The crane will arrive for those pieces around August 20th. The ribbon cutting ceremony is tentatively being planned for late October. So and really the next step for us in speaking with the food pantry organization is to try and bring some order in anticipation for the amount of foot traffic and vehicle traffic we'll see at the lower parking lot. So we'll be talking about parking spaces and directional arrows and signage and all those fun things that I went to school for as a history teacher. So I'm very excited. And then last but not least, cafeteria. We just purchased a refrigerated salad bar station for the middle high school. So this should allow for greater access to fruit and veg for our kids at the middle high school and speed up some of the lines for our lunches. There'll be 2 different spots for kids. So packing a lot in. This is the busy time of the year for instructional planning to make everything ready to launch for September 4th. But I'm pretty jazzed about our plans and the commitment of our team to bring this to fruition. So, great. Any questions?
Moving on to information to the board, there's a few items there. Just referencing the summer law conferences, the new school board member governance, school board academy, and then the municipal convention in October. Also included is new board of education email and addresses for you.
Ellen, can I interject briefly, actually? I neglected to just reference the Regents exam results, the demographic data on our graduates. So this is available for your review, but just some context. So some of the things you'll see from the 2024 graduating classes, one, it's the smallest class we've had in a number of years, which is an anomaly. But 2, this was a particularly trades-driven graduating class. So we have very high participation for the technical endorsement, which is students who have gone to school for career and technical education and have reached the highest possible accomplishment academically and skill level for the technical skills that they went to school for. And you can also see that there's an increase in the amount of students who are attending a 2-year college as opposed to a 4-year college. So those trends are sort of interesting. Regarding our regions data writ large, once again, I don't have comparisons here, although you can see them with the New York State report card about our regional performance compared to other districts around us, but we continue to have very robust performances and proficiency on all of our readiness exams. Some of them are outstanding. Our ELA this year, we had 89% of our students achieve proficiency with passing grade. That's phenomenal. Some of the other big ones are Earth Science. We had 95% of our students. So you look at where we are in that particular year versus the last two, we were at 77 and 76% and 77 the year before. So 20% more students achieving mastery in our science.
Great.
Right? Yeah, so I'm really pleased with what we're seeing. One of the things I'm going to focus on this summer is, you know, a lot of this discussion about data and setting goals, like that has the potential to bring sort of a mathematical, I don't want to say soulless, but like mathematical lens to the profession of teaching. And everything is a balance. You want to create that harmony in your classroom and have good relationships with kids and have teachable moments and not just be so data driven that you're robotic in your approach. So I'm going to be trying to working with the team to tonally set that balance with the staff at the start of the year as they are asked to set goals related to the students' performance. But some interesting things popped up in the qualitative surveys that we sent out for the strategic plan this year. One of the things that was interesting was the amount of students who indicated that they feel they're not being sufficiently challenged in the school. Yeah. And so, you know, I think a lot of my focus and my tone and theme for the year as a leader in the district is going to be to push for greater rigor, to challenge our kids. I just feel that that quote, I think that is that my teacher believed that I could, and so I did. You know, that's something that's really been resonating a lot with me in discussions with the team lately. So one of the things that I want to do to further tease that out is have some dialogue with some of our recent graduates over the past 1, 2, 3 years. See what level of preparation they felt they had when they went to college. Where were they good? Where were they, oh man, where was the third cup of coffee needed at 11 o'clock because they weren't adequately prepared for that setting on the part of the district. So those are some of the anecdotal things that I hope to put together to make a winning case to the staff that data-informed instruction can still be student-centered and can create a positive environment, but that it's in the best interest of our kids to push them past levels that they actually may think that they can. So lofty, but reach for the stars and
That's it. I agree.
see where you can go. So that's it. Just other information that's always good.
Great, thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Next item is the policy review. I'm not quite sure what
Sure.
to do with this section.
Yeah, let me just kind of take the lead here. So these are the policies that on an annual basis are required to be reviewed by law. And so our code of conduct is amongst those, and any changes to our code of conduct have to have a 30-day notice prior to a hearing on those. So our hearing is slated for our August board meeting, August 13th. Our code of conduct presently has draft changes in it this year that speak to the prohibition of cell phones, not just K through 8 has been the case over the last several years, but also then extending that through 9th through 12th grade. So you'll see language in there about that. The other policies that are in there, there's an opportunity for you to click on those and refresh. Those are our ongoing policies about investments, purchasing. Those are reviewed annually. No significant changes to those policies. So it's just adhering to your legal obligation to, as a board, to ensure that you've read those over and familiar with those. Our attendance policy has not been meaningfully changed either, but is required to be reviewed. And so too with our free and reduced price meals. So really our big driver of changes here is the code of conduct. There are a few additional changes in the code beyond the realm of smartphones that speak to the dress code, the trends of the day. Not to embarrass myself too much, but there has been a greater gravitation amongst some of our older students to wear short shorts and short shorts. And so, you know, we're adding additional language to the dress code about the need to have one's posterior completely covered. So, and there was much thought into how to indicate that
Where the
language.
thigh meets the buttocks.
Yes, yes. So we didn't know quite how to do that.
I know.
We felt,
Complicated.
yes.
And whatever you say, some girls are gonna just push the envelope on that.
Yes, and we didn't want, of course, we have reviewed the dress codes a few years ago, and we didn't want to get into the subjective rules with regards to an inch posterior there, because then suddenly kids' arms are moving in ways that
Yes,
one didn't know possible.
that's precisely.
So simply just, that the bar is to have all private aspects of our bodies covered fully.
Perfect.
So you'll see some language in there to that effect too. And I will try my best not to blush in the presentation of that language. We shall see.
Maybe Karen can do it.
Tim, real quickly on the
Yeah.
free and reduced lunch.
Yeah.
I noticed that the 40% is on there.
Oh, right,
It
and we
should
should
be
change it to
25%.
25.
Good catch, Dana.
Community eligibility, at least
Good catch.
25%, yep. Which we do meet.
If there are any specific questions about those policies that you see, just email me at any point, give me a call. I'm happy to speak to them as best as I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Dennis. Good.
Moving on to our action items. B through F are under consent. I will read A. Recommended action, motion to adopt the 24-25 Board of Education meeting calendar as per the attached. May I have a motion, please?
I'll move it.
Ron? Ryan? Any discussion?
I did reference this in my notes, but just that our year is a little bit lighter in terms of meeting at the start of the year, just due to the budgeting process taking place after the holiday. And we've tracked over the years the number of substantive action items in fall to early winter. And there have been instances where we could have forgotten a meeting. So in deference to all of your busy schedules, this seems to strike a good balance between that which is needed to drive business and that which is not needed so that we can all
Great.
use our time effectively.
These are generally Tuesdays.
Yes, are there any Monday exceptions in here this year?
No, the only one that's not a Tuesday is the Wednesday after the budget vote.
Thank you.
Please vote. I'll second.
I'm just waiting for Don.
Yeah, I'm getting used to how this thing works. I just got lost. I'm in favor of the schedule.
Okay. So that's 7 yes.
Great, thank you. Moving on, 9, minutes of the Board of Education was also under consent. Moving on to additional action items. There are numerous ones that are under consent. Basically, B through H are under consent. And I will read A, which is recognition of scholar athletes. Recommended action is to approve the attached resolution recognizing scholar athletes. I'd like to read it, if that's.
Yeah, that's great.
Whereas the New York State Public High School Athletic Association recognizes individual student athletes and high school athletic teams for outstanding performance, both academically and athletically, by awarding designations as scholar athletes and scholar athlete teams, respectively, and whereas 15 out of 17 Lake Placid High School athletic teams have received scholar athlete team awards, and LPHS student athletes have been designated as scholar athletes, meaning that the teams and individual students, respectively, have excelled both on the field and in the classroom. And whereas the Board of Education of the Lake Placid Central School District is proud of their accomplishments of these students and athletic teams and wishes to recognize their academic and athletic accomplishments. Therefore, Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby expresses its congratulations to the following LPHS athletic teams, including the individual team members and coaches for being recipients of Scholar Athletic Team Awards. Fall, boys cross country, girls cross country, girls soccer, girls volleyball, winter, boys basketball, girls basketball, boys and girls skiing. In the spring, boys golf, girls and boys tennis, boys baseball, girls lacrosse, girls softball, girls track and field, boys track and field, and flag football. Expresses its congratulations to the LPHS student athletes for meeting the rigorous standards established to achieve scholar athlete status.
I think there's a typo in the second paragraph.
It should say 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
17, 17 is the transactions.
Well, congratulations to them all. Athletes,
Yes.
coaches, athletic director.
Wonderful performance all around.
No.
Any discussion on that item?
Did we make a motion? Did anybody make a
I'm
motion?
sorry, a motion, please.
I
It was a long thing to read. at once.
was like, wait, what did I miss?
I'm like, oh my God. May I have a motion, please?
I move it.
Ron,
I'll second.
Doug? Any discussion? Other than congratulations to all the teams again.
And I switched this 15 to 17.
Please vote.
Good job.
7 yes.
I was not to-
We have one more item that was not included in the set agenda. Recommended action, whereas the Lake Placid School Board of Education policy 6255, donations, gifts, and grants to the district, allows for the superintendent of schools to accept on behalf of the board gifts, donations, and grants having a value of less than $1,500. Whereas monies have been granted as follows. Establish a scholarship, John and Patricia Hopkinson Scholarship for Environmental Science in the additional amount of $5,000. Now therefore be it resolved in accordance with policy 6255, the Board of Education hereby accepts the check for the purpose of establishing a scholarship fund as referenced above in the additional amount of $5,000. May I have a motion? Ryan?
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Thank you for your generosity, John.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You know what I
Turn
like?
this one down, I don't know.
You know what I like most? Initial 5,000. We got another 5 coming next year. See, Mr. Esquire.
Well, thank you, John.
Thanks,
You're right.
John. Thanks, Patty.
There
for
will
it.
be more to come.
That's wonderful.
So 6 yes and John abstained.
Moving on to the second go to the cause, Karen, anybody?
No. None.
Moving on to discussion phase. Committee appointments.
Sure, so both discussion items here, A and B, are planting a seed for next month's meeting, just to give you some context and some time to consider. So historically, we have had board participation on a few of our standing committees. So the three that are used most readily over the course of the school year. The first, and you can reference the Word doc that I've attached there at your convenience, the policy committee. So in the 23-24 school year, Ron and Colleen Skufka were our board representatives on that. So as I just share the frequency with which they meet, the intention of those committees, think about if you're on that committee, whether or not you wish to stay for a subsequent year, whether you wish to remove yourself or join another committee. All of those are permissible. And we know everyone's very busy, so non-participation on a committee is certainly understandable goal as well. So our policy committee typically meets about twice a year. And the goal of the policy committee is to ensure that our policies are up to date. We look at any recommendations from the school boards, law recommendations that are provided. Those, I think, about 4 times a year. So there are updates as proposed by NISBA for our consideration. And there are also novel policies that need to be amended based on the desire of the board or specific actions that may take place in the school. So, as a point of reference, the code of conduct is the primary. It's like the Constitution for student involvement in school, how it's going to impact them. There are a litany of policies that are tied to the code of conduct, and so if the board were to amend the permissive use of smartphones or dress code, then there would also be policies that would need to be amended as a result of those. Just anecdote. So one of the core missions of the board, other than setting goals and overseeing the administration of the district, is policy. My job as superintendent is to enact regulations and procedures that bring the board's goals and policies to fruition. So if you have any interest in that, then please indicate so.
Who's the committee? A committee of us or another committee?
Great. Yeah, so it's a subcommittee. It's composed of elementary and middle and high school parents. We have some board emeritus. Joan Valentine serves in that capacity, as does Matt Stan and Patty Gallo.
Names already.
You got it.
You know, we have 2 appointments.
Oh, that's right. We'll have to add Eli and Lisa.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. So we do have 2 additional parents as well.
2 comments. I'm very happy to belong here.
If you want a new job, okay.
Well, David. The other thing I do, this isn't a committee, but I'm rotating off the educational opportunity committee. There's a liaison between the educational opportunity committee and the board. And I would just like to encourage somebody else to volunteer. It's once a month. It's a very good cause. They have their own funding sources. Disperses money for various activities, teachers as well as students. So the goal is really great, but this is more than just a feel-good committee. They really, really, really are good committee. The executive group, the officers know their stuff. They run a tight meeting. They have subcommittees that handle a lot of the activities. They report back. And so functionally, it's a very good committee. And I think it's very important that we and the Alliance committee is actually run by Danya, who's superintendent. I would, ask anybody who would be interested. Good cause, long run. I think it's a good opportunity for people to kind of find out, particularly if you're a parent, somebody who's really involved in the day-to-day of kids' school. I'll just do my plug. Somebody else. I enjoy it.
So the other committees that, in addition to those, the audit committee is traditionally represented from the board, the president and the vice president, and then Karen Meister has been our community member to date. Our audit takes place on the 3rd week of August, something to that effect.
Yeah, this year we'll have it the week of August 12th. So we'll probably set up something for that week.
And is that still Tom Telling?
Yep. On this one.
So it's our external auditor that just reviews our practices and our controls in the district. This is separate from any audit that might take place on a 5-year rotation for the comptroller's office. This is our internal audit to ensure fidelity. And then another important committee that meets with regularity is our Health and Safety Committee for Buildings and Grounds. This is another one that's required by law. And the focus of this primarily is to review our facilities and our buildings and ensure that they are safe, they are up to code. And recently, we completed the building conditions survey in collaboration with our architect. And that is a mandate every 5 years from the Office of Facilities Planning in New York State. And they gave us a litany of things that we can improve upon and astronomical quotes that any of us should seriously think about putting our jobs to do these tasks. Putting a roof on the concession stand at the Horse Show grounds for $150,000. So
I think 20 grand to paint the inside of it.
20 grand to paint the
for,
inside.
a couple gallons of paint.
Yeah. So a lot going on there. We are making a concerted effort to do that work internally with our staff.
Yes.
But you know, it's nice when people can insert humor into another of those conversations. So we will take that. So just those are the three groups that are board sanctioned that meet with regularity. As John mentioned, our ed op connection, that liaison piece is important. Another committee, not committee per se, but another board, as referenced before. We send a representative from the community of Lake Placid to BOCES to be on the BOCES board. So I know that I had sent out a message, I think in the month of June, just saying that Peter Lynch has left his BOCES board seat. I have started to put out feelers amongst people who either have a strong association or history with the BOCES in our community and or who are in the trades to see if we could find someone who could carry Lake Placid's voice to the BOCES board. But if anyone here is interested in serving in that capacity, they meet once a month at the Adirondack Education Center as well. So if that's the case, please let me know. Otherwise, I will continue to seek out a community member who has the skill sets and interests to support our district in that way. And then just the other committees there, those are just for reference. They are required by law, but they tend to be more ad hoc in nature. Shared decision-making committee is an umbrella committee. When we have something come up that the board feels requires additional research, collaboration, then I am empowered as a superintendent to create ad hoc committees in the service of shared decision-making. So those are primarily the committees. So for next meeting, if you could just think, if you have any interest in joining or switching or removing yourself from those three active committees that I referenced at the top.
The other item under discussion is review of the board objectives, 2023, 24, and then looking at 24, 25.
So the board has certainly, prior to my arrival, always been a very goal-oriented body. The main strategic goals that the board has carried for years have remained the same, namely to put students first and foremost, to promote education, community outreach and involvement, technology, finance, I believe, are the main buckets. So what you see in this document is the very diligent work that Karen has done in codifying the many instances in which board members referenced some action in the previous year that was in the furtherance of one of these goal areas. So this is just an opportunity to review those, to see the work that was done last year, and you can click on any of these and they'll indicate specifically what took place. But also to start thinking between now and really by the end of September, that is the traditional timeline where the board puts forth its goals for the year, either changing some of these categories or adding different sub-disciplines. Some of the ones that were more relevant for us this year happened because people spoke up. Ron, you spoke up about a need to promote civics. So we had reports from John Tremonti about the civic education that we have for our students. So just continue to reference the strategic plan, look at this, and then bring your own sentiment about what you think the district needs to push forward on as the basis for discussion for goals. And you really drive the goals of the district. From there, it's, the structure starts to go towards me, and then I have my goals that you approve. I meet with the administrative team, and each building level principal, each member of the administrative team has specific sub goals that go through me, and then our teachers have goals, and in part our students have goals. So we're a goal-oriented organization. That's a good thing.
Now, we are the adjournment phase. Our next meeting date and location is August 13th in the boardroom. Do you have any old agenda topics? New agenda? Well, then let's recommended action is to adjourn the meeting at 7:05 p.m. Have a motion, please.
Well, could you do the trend? Make a motion. It's gonna be all night, so might as well end it.
Have a second? John. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some stuff here to sign.
Good 40 miles, 65.